time once again for another round of, hey, didn't they already do an episode of this on Mystery Science Theater?
Miller, you are a genius!
Time Chasers is finally coming to audiences in HD for the ultimate viewing experience.
Who needs to control the media when you can control history?
The sci-fi cult classic has been digitally restored for a new generation from the film's original theatrical elements, mastered under the supervision of the film's director, David Giancola.
A man must go to different areas to stop his time travel technology from falling into the wrong hands. That's all it says for the plot on Google. I mean, the IMDb description is simply, an inventor comes up with a time machine but must prevent its abuse at the hands of an evil CEO. Even though the plot synopsis are really short on both Google and IMDb, I was tempted to just read the entire description on the back of the box, because, yeah, I do have an autographed copy of this movie. Inventor Nick Miller creates a time machine to better the world. When he naively sells out his invention to GenCorp, a defense contractor, the time machine is used by its evil CEO, J.K. Robertson, as a weapon. Nick soon discovers that the future has been turned into a desolate wasteland where all advantages have been used up. Now, the only way Nick can stop the destruction of the future is to erase the past. If somehow he can stop his past self from creating the transports, the future will be restored. This possibility is not lost on Robertson, who wants to bury Nick in the past and silence him forever. In this powerful race from the futures of 1941 to the Revolutionary War of 1777, Nick must risk everything to save the future. You can see I got the Castleton shirt, which was made popular because of this movie. But there's also this little pamphlet thing for some movie that I guess they also put out. It was called Accelerator. I actually don't know about this one. This one's relatively recent. This is 2018. So also some DVD for a movie called Illegal Aliens, which, as you can see, looks like some booby flick. And it has a little nice stamp on the back. Who knows? Maybe this, and if I can find a copy of Accelerator in the future, maybe those can be an episode sometime down the road. Anyway, we're going to be talking about this movie, Time Chasers, or as it originally was going to be called, Tangents. Because there are plenty of times throughout the movie where they say tangents.
All these time tangents just seem like the normal course of history.
But yeah, because they kept saying it all throughout the movie, you could tell that maybe at some point that was going to be the title. But whatever. Long and the short of it, this movie was made popular because of Mystery Science Theater, much like other movies we've talked about on Blockbusters show, from stuff like The Screaming Skull to stuff like Hobgoblins. And thankfully, this is a nice in-between. It's nowhere as bad as those movies. I hesitate calling it a good movie, but in terms of these kind of silly, cheesy movies that get made fun of on Mystery Science Theater, I think this kind of falls into the pod people category where, no, it's not a very good movie, but it's also far from fucking 2 out of 10 on IMDb. I feel like the only reason that it gets ratings like that is because it was on Mystery Science Theater. People see that and are like, oh, well, they talk about shitty movies all the time, so it must be shitty. And it's like, I honestly don't think this movie's that good, but it's also far from bad. I mean, after you see shit like Reverend I'm Available, you can only go uphill from there. This was a passion project of the director, who made it with a very slim budget of $150,000. And I guess the movie more than made its money back thanks to home video sales and Mystery Science Theater helping to promote it. And he seems like one of the directors of movies that were featured on that show that are actually pretty appreciative of them talking about it. He seems like he's like a really good sport about that kind of thing.
For independent filmmakers, you know, like me, I'm really lucky to just be able to have an audience. And Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater have a lot to do with giving me an audience. So if you have questions, just hit me up. I'm having trouble reading them, but I'll do the best I can to read them and answer your questions.
Every once in a while, you'll have the cast and crew get back together for reunion specials. I think usually hosted by Riff Tracks, which is Mystery Science Theater's spiritual successor. But yeah, they seem pretty proud of this one. And you know what? Like I've been saying, and before we actually get to the plot of this thing, honestly, I didn't hate this movie. I feel like this is the kind of bad movie I would much rather watch compared to a lot of so bad they're good movies that are made now. Because as you'll soon see, this movie has a sense of earnestness to it versus a lot of intentionally bad movies that come out now, which just have this stupid, annoying wink wink nudge nudge. It's like borderline condescending. I mean, like shit from like The Asylum and Jagged Edge Productions, stuff like that. They know they're making bad movies, and they constantly have to look at the camera and be like, we're in on the joke. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like Tommy Wiseau's career. Like, The Room is funny bad because they treat everything in the movie so deathly serious, but it just comes off so unintentionally goofy. But when Tommy Wiseau tried doing things that were bad on purpose, those were nowhere near as fun because they knew that it was supposed to be stupid, and it took away from the charm. Anyway, as for Time Chasers, it is a 1994 sci-fi film about time travel, and the whole reason it was made, and it's very apparent, like a lot of other low-budget movies, because the directors and producers and the writers had access to something, they definitely tried to use it and make a movie around it. In this case, the thing they had access to was an airplane hangar. So they decided to make this movie about a plane that has special technology built inside of it that can travel through time.
Yes! Nick Miller, you are a genius! Worked! God, it works!
So the plot of the movie follows around a young inventor named Nick, who throughout the course of the movie wears the signature Castleton shirt. But before he does that, he's this guy. He has dreams and aspirations of becoming an inventor and revolutionizing the world of science because he has successfully created time travel technology with a couple of Commodore 64 parts, which was one of my all-time favorite things about the movie. It's like, I know that they started writing the movie in the 80s, but just seeing a Commodore 64 being used in a movie that was filmed in the early 90s, I don't know, something about that got a good laugh out of me.
Yo.
Basically what you need to know is he took a bunch of Commodore 64 parts and added what is essentially a flux capacitor to his plane that he flies. And there are a ton of shots of them flying the plane up into the air. Like I said, this is one of those movies where, hey, they had access to it, they're gonna film it, damn it. So yeah, there are plenty of times where they film in the hangar, they show shots of the airplane flying off, they show other planes flying later on in the movie.
Listening breeds new ideas, and new ideas breed innovation. Innovation is this country's greatest natural resource, its most powerful defense weapon.
So Nick calls up this mega corporation that he thinks will give him funding for it if he demonstrates his plane's ability to travel through time. And the company in question is called GenCorp. And, well, like you'd expect from a science fiction story, the mega corporation later turns out to be evil because they're going to, of course, take this technology, buy it from him, and sell it to corrupt people all over the world. You know, kind of like what we're seeing right now. Along with a representative from GenCorp, he also calls up a journalist for a local paper who just so happens to be someone he used to know, that being a young woman named Lisa. So, maybe they could eventually get together, and obviously throughout the course of the movie we follow their romance. Along with this guy who's a representative for GenCorp who, all throughout the movie I just kept calling him Dr. Gonzo because he looks like Benicio del Toro's character from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I'd like to get a look at this intake if I could.
Well, what I'd like to do is give you both a quick demonstration first, so if you'll jump right in, we'll be on our way.
I decide to go in the plane and give it a test ride, and he gets Lisa out there because he brings up something about his grandmother skydiving. Like, that's the big selling point because he knows he can't say, oh, plane that can travel through time, because no one would believe it. So he gets Lisa out there by basically lying to her, and then, like, before they get on the plane, she's like, wait, Nick, didn't your grandparents die when we were kids?
I just realized your grandmother died when we were kids.
Everybody gets on the plane, they travel to the year 2042, and, well, even for a low-budget movie, their depiction of the future, because again, this was 1994, we gotta remember that, that's when the movie came out. So their depiction of 2041 or 2042, I couldn't help but just laugh at it. I mean, everybody is wearing neon. There's no, like, futuristic technology to be found. Everybody's riding around on bikes.
Hey, Jimmy's, can you return the polymers tomorrow? Oh, Mom, I got another call. I'll call you back. Hello? Hey, Jimmy, I'll be over. I had to ditch my mom first.
And, well, they go up to a building that has like a fake plaque on it that says like this entire building was made out of recyclable assets.
Come on. Yeah, but...
You see, it's stuff like that that's supposed to remind you that this is a science fiction film. Because then after that, they just go to have like a brunch. They get some coffee at a restaurant, and it just looks like average everyday restaurant. It doesn't look all that different. I mean, granted, Back to the Future 2 said that 2015 was going to be super futuristic, and 2015's come and gone. No one really gives a shit, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm really curious to see what 2041 or 2042 looks like, to see if it's anything like that, because the way things are going, I highly doubt it.
I don't believe this. It's like a dream.
This is 2041.
This is 2041.
Nick, you did it.
You are a genius.
You've been working on this all your life.
Yeah.
Successfully go back to their present time, and Mac says, oh man, this is a scientific breakthrough. Yeah, we gotta take this to the higher ups. So he goes to tell the bigwig over at GenCorp, a guy named J.K. Robertson, who, I gotta say, that guy, first of all, he looks a lot like the lawyer from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Everyone, this is an auspicious day in the history of the world. Today we have entered the fourth dimension and are about to be the only ones with the key.
Secondly, and more importantly, I think he did a pretty good job as the villain in this movie. He did a really good job embracing that like evil corporate slime ball. You know, it's the kind of thing that you'd see in a lot of these kind of sci-fi, dystopian, or cyberpunk kind of stories. I think he did a pretty good job as that character. Eventually, JK shows up in the back of a limousine, and they give him a demonstration of the plane's technology. Of course, he's super thrilled about it, and he, on the spot, buys the technology from Nick. So Nick is going to be super famous and super rich. But he also wants Lisa to be a part of it. He wants her to document the story.
This has to be kept under total secrecy until we understand what we're dealing with. If this fell into the wrong hands, it might...
Who said you were the right hands?
You know what I'm talking about.
But she says no, because that's some kind of conflict of interest. Because she's 5 steps ahead of him. She knows that if the big companies, or anyone who's in power, owns the media, they control the story, and they control the narrative.
Who needs to control the media when you can control history?
So this is like 20 minutes into the movie, and Nick is still super elated about all of this. He's finally succeeding. He's going to become like the next Einstein, is what they keep saying. While all that's going on, him and Lisa are getting closer together. They're going on dates, and they travel through time to go have a romantic dinner in the 1950s. Which I gotta say, that was one of the better things in the movie. You know, I mean, the 1950s, relatively easy to replicate if you have the right kind of cars and the right kind of decor. One of those cases you see in time travel movies where it's easier to replicate the past because it's already happened, versus trying to replicate the future. You don't know what the future's going to look like. I mean, even in like the Bill and Ted movies, when they go to the future, it's like none of that shit looks like it does now. I highly doubt it will ever look like that. And they end up jumping forward back to 2041, and well, it's become fucking Mad Max world. You know, there's a bunch of junkies running around with baseball bats. There's a bunch of different gang wars and a bunch of different turfs because the time travel technology, it's basically just been sold to the highest bidder, and it's just resulted in all-out war throughout the world.
This city is ruled by anybody who takes it over. Our gang rules from here all the way down to the bay. We control the biggest part of this city.
It doesn't help that time travel has fucked up this timeline so badly that the gangs don't take too kindly to people who can travel through time. So our two main characters, Nick and Lisa, they book it. They're eventually saved by this one bum in this abandoned like factory or warehouse. It was one of those places where it's like, okay, you got easy access to it, let's use it, let's put it in the movie. He takes them in, he gives them some exposition as to why time is all fucked up now, and it's at this point where they're like, well, we'll just go back in time and we'll make sure that J.K. Robertson doesn't use time travel for bad or sell it to any kind of corrupt, evil, powerful elites. But you know he's going to do anyway. Even if they told him, no, don't do that, he's still going to do it anyway. You can't reason with fucking people like that.
I'd start by finding the guy who invented the time transport and cut his throat.
You get it? It's funny because the guy who invented the original time machine was just there. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Wah. End up going back to their current time. They confront J.K. Robertson in his office building, which honestly looks like a mall or like a hotel. His office doesn't look like an office. It looks like his office is like a desk and like a potted plant and an office chair in the middle of a staircase. That was really weird.
Nick, Lisa, how are you both?
I don't know where they filmed that, but either way, it was definitely not an office building. I mean, in a scene like that, you want it to be like, oh, they're in his office. And then when the two main characters are like, well, we're not going to let any of this happen. And then they turn around and then they get blocked off by some of his brutes, his thugs. You know, it should be like in a tight, confined area. But because it's such a big open area, there's no walls and no doors. It's like, it's really not that threatening. Although, I guess, yeah, it is because they have guns.
This is beyond any contract.
I think you're right. Jacobson, we have here a couple of corporate spies.
What?
Either way, they end up giving them the slip anyway. We get a little bit of a chase scene, and J.K. Robertson at that point is like, he becomes the out-and-out bad guy of the movie. He's like, we got to make sure that they don't fuck things up for GenCorp.
You understand they're both very dangerous people? Absolutely, shoot to kill. I've got a whole building full of people here. I want them taken out.
End up escaping, and because this allegedly powerful mega corporation building doesn't have any kind of security cams that can find them, they end up slipping out into the streets. They get picked up by one of the many weird, quirky characters in this movie. I mean, we saw one of them earlier. There was a scene where they're in a grocery store, and there's this lady who's just overacting like crazy.
You always come to my house, but you never do. And I'm not getting any younger anymore either, and it's your fault. You work too hard.
More importantly, they get into this taxi cab driven by this guy. He says he's from New York, but the way he talks, he sounded like he was more like, I don't know, from Boston. He didn't really sound like the traditional stereotypical New Yorker, but he's one of the many quirky characters that you get in this thing.
See, if we were in Manhattan and you said north, no problem, piece of cake. I head uptown. The avenues go north-south, the streets go east-west, they're numbered, they're in order. But Boston is screwed. I mean, all the streets got names, and they're not in alphabetical order,
How about Vermont?
Just kind of goes along with the fact that, oh yeah, this guy says he created time travel. Okay, you're totally not crazy or anything. He just decides to join them on their mission for a little bit. And honestly, I was at that point, I'm like, is he going to become a character? Like, is he going to be like a main character now? But no. He drops them off at the hangar, and he distracts some of the guards because, of course, GenCorp now has a bunch of guys with guns blocking the thing. And so he gets out of the cab and he starts doing some drunk kung fu on them.
Now look! I don't think you fully understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Need backup? Right at the front gate, we have some nut here.
Right now, I'd kill for some chunky monkey.
I don't know what it is. This guy's performance was so over the top and wacky. It's like I can imagine if they did this now, they'd probably get like Ben Affleck or something and have Ben Affleck do his fucking thick Boston accent or whatever. But honestly, I really enjoyed this guy's performance. It's super over the top. He's not in the movie that long, but I really like this character. They get in the building. Nick's co-worker, who becomes more of a character in the third act of the thing, he's calling Nick up and is like, what the hell is going on? There's a bunch of guys with guns around here. With some quick thinking, Lisa gets in one of the planes and convinces everybody that's at the facility that she's a pilot who's stuck up in the air and about to crash. So everybody goes rushing out to try and help her. Ultimately, what it comes down to is a fight scene, which not terribly choreographed. I mean, it's, again, a little silly, but not terrible compared to some other movies I've seen. I mean, after Prehistoric Bimbos and Armageddon City, they can only get better. So there's a fight scene. There is another really funny line of dialogue I actually did genuinely laugh at. Gotta give this movie some credit. This movie is more self-aware than you'd think. I mean, not by a whole lot, but it is more self-aware, but not painfully self-aware like I said, asylum movies or whatever, where constant just looking at the camera and, gee, we're in a bad movie, aren't we? Which makes me glad that the director never tried making sequels to this movie where they just constantly do that. They didn't pull a Sharknado where it's just constant like, oh, Time Chasers 8, and then just have everybody constantly mugging and being goofy. I'm really glad they didn't do that. The point is, they take out the guards, they get into the time machine, take off, but J.K. Robertson and Mac have their own time-traveling plan, so they chase after them. Ultimately, it results in Lisa getting shot because, they pull out a gun and start shooting at them while they're in the air. Lisa ends up dying, ends up crash landing in, I think it's supposed to be the day where Nick originally called GenCorp. It was the scene we saw at the beginning of the movie. So now it's a race to the clock so that, he has 2 hours before they actually properly showed J.K. Robertson in the past and, making him go, man, this technology is great. We got to buy this. So he has 2 hours to make sure that shit doesn't happen. So our Nick, the current Nick, not the past Nick. And my favorite way of them distinguishing the two of them is not just with their shirts. Like, he has the Castleton shirt, and the past version has, like, a button-up. But the past version also has glasses. I was like, oh my god, are they going to interact? Is there going to be some split screen? And there is. There's a little bit of split screen later on in the movie, and it's hilarious.
Thanks. Listen, you got the demo. Destroy the transport, I know. You know? Sure, I got a transport too.
Are you guys all right?
So because they're in the past, Lisa is still alive, so they can hopefully prevent her dying. But because she works for the paper, she's called in to write about a plane crash that happened. And at first, they think the plane crash was what killed Nick's grandma. But, eventually she finds out that it was her. She doesn't really get it at first, but ultimately when past Nick and past Lisa find out about time travel being real, they quickly realize, like, oh, it's because your future self ended up coming back in time to prevent something from going down. Meanwhile, Nick ends up getting apprehended by Mac and JK, and they end up traveling back to 1777, and they have a bunch of people who are supposed to be the British versus the Americans. Right away, my first thought was, okay, they probably used some kind of, like, old-timey war reenactment group to do this. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. I was like, I knew it. So, yeah, the end of this movie takes place in 1777, and I absolutely love it because not only are these people not questioning that these people are dressed in, like, modern clothing, but it seems like you could just tell them anything and they'll believe you.
Put that weapon down!
Whoa, Minutemen! Correction, they are pissed Minutemen.
If you haven't seen the movie and you're curious as to what happened to Mac, Dr. Gonzo, he ends up getting shot.
Oh, Matt? I changed my mind. You're fired.
Get some shots of the British versus the Americans during the war. All the while, our main characters are chasing after each other through the woods. You got people riding on horseback at one point. Ultimately, present Nick basically tells his past self what he needs to know. He doesn't tell him too much, but he basically tries to imply that, hey, you and Lisa are going to get together. So, make sure that happens. And this time, you don't even need the time travel. You don't need the fancy, expensive dates in the 1950s. You guys just, you guys just try to hit it off naturally. So ultimately, present Nick ends up dying along with JK because they get into his plane, but Nick ends up bringing it down. They crash, and as JK is about ready to kill him, he ends up shooting present Nick. So he basically sacrifices himself. So now his past self can make sure that this future doesn't happen. And JK ends up dying because, the plane wreck ends up landing on top of him in an effect that is pretty funny. People left are Lisa, Nick, and Nick's co-worker because that was another thing I was going to mention. JK and Mac kidnapped him as well because he ended up getting discovered with Nick in the past. So, yeah. Everybody ends up going back to their current time, and they end up canceling the GenCorp meeting with JK, to make sure that the horrible future doesn't happen and that he sees that time travel technology is real. What he does is they decide, like, yeah, we have something great to show you. We're going to show you.
I'd like to present you with Gilda Heinz, star of the new GenCorp television commercials. 80 years old and a world-class skydiver. We see her everywhere, across the entire logo. What? All of your T-shirts, all of your merchandise.
What's going on here?
JK reveals that he's a douchebag. Like, just right then and there, it's like, what? I thought this was going to be some kind of scientific breakthrough. Oh, Mac, you find your own way back to the city. Oh, I never should have listened to you. And then he gets into his limousine and fucks off. And then I love another genuinely good line. Nick looks at Mac and goes, well, at least you didn't get shot in this timeline. And then Mac's just kind of like, what?
At least I didn't shoot you this time.
Ends with Nick basically getting rid of his technology. I mean, it would have been revolutionary, but of course, like any time travel story, once it gets into the wrong hands, time travel is a dangerous fucking thing. So, yeah, the story ends with just him and Lisa. They meet at the grocery store once again, and it's implied that, you know, they'll probably hit it off, and this time they won't even need time travel to do it. So, yeah, it ends on a pretty sweet note. It's been forever since I've seen this movie, and whenever I did watch this movie, it was the Mystery Science Theater episode. So watching this movie on its own, I gotta say, cheesy, silly, there's a lot of really dumb, campy moments, and there's definitely a lot of budgetary limitations. I mean, the effect that they use to show them traveling through time, it is very, very low budget. It's the kind of thing you'd see in a lot of straight-to-video movies back then. This movie definitely has charm to spare. I mean, you know, the cast is likable. Everyone blends into their characters really well. You do like the leads. You do believe in their romance. The movie treats itself seriously enough for you to laugh at some of the sillier moments, but it's also not so silly to the point where it's like, all right, this is just stupid. It's the perfect blend. It's the kind of cheesy bad movie that I would honestly recommend people watch versus the ones that they make nowadays, which just try way too hard to be stupid and try way too hard to be self-aware. This one, it has the right level of self-awareness and yet the right level of silliness to balance it out and keep it entertaining. And you know what? The fact that the cast and crew have constantly worked together on a bunch of different projects and they're still doing stuff to this day, I think that's great. I think that's absolute bit of money that they have to work with. And even if the movies themselves aren't very good, at least they have fun making them. And they're not the worst things ever, because there are movies where it's like, oh yeah, they had fun making it, but the movies themselves really aren't that good. This, on the other hand, even if you'd say that it's a bad movie, it's a watchable bad movie. It's the kind of movie that's fun to sit down and occasionally make comments about, which we obviously see through Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks. So, yeah. Overall, pretty fun bad movie. Blockbuster show, we're going to be talking about a more modern big budget movie, although it's from Lionsgate, so maybe it's not that big budget. But we're going to see their attempt at trying to make Taylor Lautner an action star with the 2011 vehicle Abduction. So, yeah, that should be interesting to see. Because Taylor Lautner, as far as I can tell, didn't have that many movies under his belt. I was kind of surprised by that. But, yeah, we're going to see them attempt to try and make him like a Jason Bourne type character. So that should be interesting to see. But until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Brace yourself, buddy boy. It's about to get a lot noisier.
Noisier. Fine. I'll be home watching Jeopardy.